Hey, everybody. Happy August. Welcome to this month's video where we're going to discuss an extremely hot product for us, certainly, and one that's garnering a lot of interest in the automotive market. And that is our X613 mobile aligner. This is pretty revolutionary product out there. So it is a alignment machine that pretty much can be used in multiple spots. So we'll get into it in a little bit, but the thing that's amazing about it is that you can this thing comes in a box, right? It does not tether you to one bay in your shop. Now it has to be used on a drive-on or a scissor type lift, right? It can't be used on a two-post lift. So there is that function if you have multiple of those types of lifts in your shop. One of the other benefits is its mobility, right? It's not something that we really get a lot into. But if you're, say, a small volume shop for alignments, and you do happen to have multiple locations, I know I actually visited a shop in West Virginia, and the guy was a used car dealership. Not a tiny little one, but not a large dealership either. And he had two locations about 12 miles apart, and he was considering investing in an alignment machine. And he was trying to figure out which of his two locations to put it at, and then kind of get the cars back and forth. And when presented with this opportunity, he decided that this is what he was going to do because he could take the unit from one shop to the other. So maybe on Mondays and Tuesdays it was at one location, and other days it was at a location on the other side of town. And obviously, if things went well, he might consider buying another one at that second location. So first up, we're gonna show a video, an unboxing video, and the reason why we're going to show this is because everything in the that comes with the unit is in this video. So all the components. So after the video, we'll talk about the stuff that's in there. Real quick before I move on into that video, I do want to remind you that we have a discount code available. It is AVI15, right? So if you go to launchtechusa.com and you enter that code, you can get 15% off of your purchases on launch products, including the X613 aligner. So make sure that you use that code. And if you have any questions that you don't want to put in the chat box, or you think of an hour from now, you can email techquestions@launchtechusa.com. It actually comes to my inbox. I have gotten a couple of questions here recently from these videos, and I have answered every single one of them. So if you have a question, email it to us, techquestions@launchtechusa.com. We will answer. All right, so let's begin with the unboxing video, and you'll see exactly what comes with the X613 aligner.
Today, we're unboxing the Launch X613 mobile wheel aligner, which comes packaged together in 3 boxes. The first box contains 3 parts. First, we have the hard case with the main unit. These units magnetically attach to the side of your drive or style lid. They are self-calibrating and wirelessly connect to your Throttle 3 or 5 tablet. The next part contains wall mounts for the camera units, 4 targets that attach to the wheel or tire clamps, and the user manual. To wrap up our first box, we have our tire clamps with 2 size adapters and corresponding wall mounts. Inside the second box, we have the wheel clamps with their corresponding wall mounts. Lastly, there's an auxiliary box containing a steering wheel holder, brake pedal depressor, wheel chocks, as well as the 2 turn plates. Now, let's talk about what makes the X613 stand out. When not in use, it can be entirely wall-mounted for easy storage and accessibility in your shop. Easily put away the main camera units, wheel clamps, and tire clamps. Alternatively, the main unit can be stored in its hard case designed for easy wiring, so you can continue charging it even when it's put away in its case. So, there you have it. If you're looking for a compact 4-wheel aligner, check out the X613.
So as you see, right, that unit comes with pretty much everything you need to do an alignment, right? It comes with two cameras, right? One for the left side, one for the right side. It comes with two sets of clamps, all right? It comes with four rim clamps, also referred to as 4-point clamps. They have the clamps that grab onto the edge of the rims, and then it comes with four tire clamps, or what also referred to as 3-point clamps, right? Comes with four targets, right? The mirrored targets, just like you see on other alignment machines that go at each point of the wheel, the right front, the left rear, and vice versa, right? And they're marked accordingly because they have to go in a specific spot. In addition to that, it comes with two turntable plates, right? And it comes with a steering wheel lock and a brake pedal depressor, right? It also comes with the Throttle 5 scan tool, right? Which by itself is a $5,000. It's our top of the line scan tool, which runs the mobile aligner. You have to use a Throttle 5 with this unit. You can't use any of other scan tools that we sell. It has to be a Throttle 5, and the reason for that is the Throttle 5 has dual band Wi-Fi, right? So we have two channels of Wi-Fi on there. We have, and the way the cameras connect to the aligner to the scan tool is initially by Wi-Fi. So the communication has to happen that. So we have to have two channels of Wi-Fi. The only scan tool that we sell has that capability is the Throttle 5. So, setup is pretty easy. We're going to see another video where this unit's in place. I'm going to then go live on my scan tool and kind of show you a little bit of the demo mode, answer some questions about this unit. We have a lot of opportunity to open up the market for alignment for a lot of shops with this product. So why don't we go ahead now and we'll play the video of this unit in action.
We're going to go through and we're going to show you what it takes to get this aligner set up. And I found someone that has never done an alignment. So we're going to go ahead and get some help here for someone that hasn't done this to show you how it really works as far as speed and such. So I'm going to bring Harrison in real quickly here. He hasn't done an alignment before. And Harrison's going to help us out first. He's going to show us a little bit of a tool here. This tool is for checking actually tire depth. So we're going to go ahead and do a tire depth check. Go ahead, Harrison. Let's start it off if you would. Harrison's going to start off with the left front tire, so the driver's front, and he's going to quickly go ahead and get us information on all of the tire tread depths very rapidly and quickly, and we're going to integrate it into the tire report. Now remember, alignment problem doesn't always go ahead and show up as tire wear, but it definitely can. So looking at the tires will give us a good idea if we have a scenario very simply where we need to do an alignment. And we're going to go ahead now and we're going to get ready to start with our alignment. So Harrison, if you'd come over here real quick, we need to identify the vehicle first, of course, because you can't remember all the alignment adjustments. So Harrison, if you would, let's pick this vehicle. Asian, if you notice he picks. And then he's going to go ahead and pick the Lexus that this is. So he's going to scroll down to Lexus, of course. Notice how easy it is. Then he's going to pick the right Lexus model of this particular vehicle. He's doing that right now and picking, of course, the year. Now that will be implemented to the service report. So the service report itself, when we're done here, is going to show the type of vehicle. So is it an all-wheel drive? Absolutely. We're going to confirm the car. Here's all the alignment measurements, as you can see on the screen, including diagnostic angles. Now, we then have tire inspection right over here. So let's go over into tire inspection. We're going to hit next, and we're going to import the information from our device that measured the tire. We're going to see that information as far as this goes. If you notice, it's populating from our test. So all of our tire depth information, as you can see on the scan tool, has been programmed in so we can get a look at. So we're going to hit next. So we have all of our tire information, which is great. We can do a complete inspection on the vehicle as far as parts and put it down in the record for the customer. We're going to go ahead and hit next in this particular case, and here's your alignment procedure. Now, if we notice, the first thing is align the front wheels, so we're going to pull it on the rack. We're going to line the front wheels with the slip plates right here in the middle, and we're good there. And then we're going to, of course, in that particular case, go to the next step, and we're blocking the rear wheels, which has been done, and then we're going to lock the steering wheel. So Harrison's going to grab the steering wheel lock and lock the steering wheel real quick, because we're going to go ahead and do a run-out check like all quality aligners do, but this alignment run-out check is going to be done very rapidly. So I'm going to go ahead and, in this particular case, hit the button. Now we got to put the targets on, and then we once again are going to go ahead and set the run out. So Harrison is going to go ahead and get the alignment wheel clamps and the targets, and we're going to go ahead and get those set up, show you how easy those are to set up. So we're going to start basically with this right front over here. And if you notice, he's going to go up to the wheel. You can set the good old clamp to be with the tire rim size initially. So he's preset it, so notice how close he is. He's going to push in very hard on the clamp. He's going to have it centered straight up and down, and he's going to go ahead and tighten it down. And then he's going to go ahead and give it a good yank to make sure it's on there. Notice how well they fit. He's going to go to the right rear now, and then he's going to go ahead, of course, and do the other two on the opposite side of the vehicle. So we have 4 wheel clamps to put on. They're all put on exactly the same way. Now remember, there's an optional clamp with 3 positions that go on the tire. Makes it a little quicker, but this clamp is inexpensive and they work extremely well. They're very repeatable and such also. And then what we're going to do, like I said, is we're now going to take the next step, which is we're going to go ahead and put the actual head units on. And you'll be a little surprised where they hook up, because they fit right in the center of the car. Now, the nice thing about that is, of course, the beams and such have a very short distance to travel. Not a lot of things get in the way of the beams and such, so very reliable as far as that goes. Now, these sensors do not have any kind of wiring on them. There's no wire connection, there's no strings, there's no beams, etc. So Harrison is going to grab the sensor that fits on this side. Harrison's going to go ahead and insert the sensor. It's magnetic, if you notice. He's all set. He's going to turn the switch on. We're good. Got a green light. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So he's putting that one on the same exact way. Once again, they're magnetic. The nice thing about this is it's a mobile aligner also. You don't have to do it on a nice rack like this one. So Harrison, come on. Boy, you did that awfully quick there, guy. So go ahead and hit next. So we're ready at this particular point. We've got the sensor on. It's telling us how to do it just to make sure we know it. If you notice, it's step by step. Tells us to make sure that we have a good path. So we're ready to go on. So Harrison, you ready to keep rolling? So go ahead. We're going to hit start calibration now. And it's going to go through, since we've just put everything together, it's going to go ahead and do a calibration to ensure that the calibration is correct. We are ready to go. So Harrison's going to hit next. And then what we're going to do now is our compensation. So Harrison is going to roll the vehicle. And I'll give him some instructions so he can see it real quickly. But he's going to roll it back. And if you notice on the screen, it's showing him actually rolling it back. He's going to get to the green area on the vehicle as he rolls it back. And when he gets to that green area and goes just past the green area, it's going to tell him push it forward. So he's ready to push it forward now. So he's going to push it back to where it was, and this does a compensation to make sure that all the sensors are reading accurately as far as their position that we placed them at. Notice we're in the green area now, and it's got a check mark, and we're ready to go. He's going to put the wheel chock back in, and that is basically our rolling compensation procedure. So now we're going to go ahead in this particular case and remove the steering wheel lock, because we're going to do a caster included angle measurement, which is very important to make sure that we're in good shape as far as this alignment goes. So we're going to go ahead and unlock our steering wheel. And when we unlock the steering wheel, we're going to go ahead now and turn the wheel. Since we're turning the wheels, we're going to go ahead basically and remove the actual pins in the good old turn plates, because the turn plates have to be able to move so that we can go ahead and do an actual alignment examination. So I'm going to hit next. And then we're going to go ahead in this particular case. It gives us all the instructions on the screen, if you notice. It's telling us, please turn the steering wheel to a straight ahead position. So we want the steering wheel straight ahead. There we go, straight ahead, as you can see on the screen. Now it's telling us, please turn the steering wheel in any direction. You can pick either left or to the right. So Harrison's going to go all the way over to the left in this particular case. And he's going to get into the green area and go just beyond it. Now it tells us go to the right. So he's going to bring it back to the right. It's going to go ahead and take the reading and then return the steering wheel to the center straight ahead position. Once it does that, we're all set there. And believe it or not, there's our alignment reading. There's our measurements. So we do have a situation where we need some alignment work done here. If you look especially at the right front camber angle, we've got a concern and we need to go ahead and make some adjustments as far as that goes. We are ready to go at this particular point. Harrison's done a great, what do you think of your first time doing an alignment check?
It was really easy.
Yeah, real easy. Now, here's the interesting thing. Harrison also went ahead and hit the print button for me, and look at this. I've got the full copy of the exact alignment printout here. I know not only the alignment angles, but I also have all the adjustable angles on here, and I have the fixed angles for diagnostic purposes. I can tell if I do have a bent strut, I have a frame with a problem. I can tell if one tire is set back because the car was in an accident or we had a big curb maybe. So all of that stuff is there. Stay tuned for more alignment training and have a great time at it.
All right. Well, thanks, Tom, for that video. As you see, it's pretty simple setup, right? As he said in there, the cameras are wireless. They magnetize to the side of a lift. The targets are placed on the wheels in the correct spots. All right, and then from there, it's just about following the instructions on the screen. The Throttle 5 will walk you through the steps for the process, and as long as you can read and follow directions, you can generally do this with ease. Most of the time, complete setup to actually getting specs, we're talking 10 minutes, even less in most cases. So you get that vehicle in on the lift, get it set up, and get it and start get specs from a rolling comp and a caster swing 10 minutes. So and then the rest of the time is dedicated to doing adjustments if needed. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen, right, of the actual Throttle 5 scan tool, and the fact that it is in going to be in demo mode, right? So this is the home screen of our Throttle 5. And as you see in there, the what we refer to as tiles for our various functions of the tool. Some of the things are our add-on stuff like our ADAS, our TSEP6 TPMS tool, the video scope, things like that. Battery tester down there at the bottom. Even if you don't own our X-613 aligner, however, the software is loaded on a Throttle 5. So we're just going to go ahead and click that X-613 app. It's then going to load, right? And there's information in here, right, where you can see the unit, learn how to do it through videos, enter the manual. But I'm just going to go ahead and hit start now. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to load demo mode, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to load demo mode. And that's going to take us into an alignment. So the very first thing is selecting which vehicle you are working on. So it's pretty simple. Asian car, that's your Hondas and your Toyotas, your Mazdas, and whatnot. European car, VWs, Audis, Porsches, Mercedes-Benz, BMWs. USA cars, right? Again, that is literally, Chevy, Ford, Dodge, and whatnot. Even if you have a truck, it's going to be obviously, listed under car. So I'm just going to go ahead, click USA car. Come on, baby. All right, so it's going to bring up, and you'll see I have a completely unlocked tool, so you see brands that you've probably never heard of if you're in the USA up on the screen, right? So as I said, you'll see up here, you'll see Ford trucks, you'll see Chevy trucks, and in most cases, even in the case of an alignment, like I'm just going to click under Chevy trucks and just click under 17, you're going to see stuff that you might not consider a truck, like an Equinox, right? Things like that. So, it is, if it's not an actual car, it's probably going to be under trucks. So I'm going to go ahead and just go back here. All right. Now cancel back to car select. All right. So go back to demo mode, right? So USA car, right? So again, multiple stuff in here. You can pick whatever brand that you got in there. So, I'm going to go ahead. In this case, I'm just going to click Ford. I'm going to click the vehicle that I own. Oh, there we go. So once you select the vehicle, one of the very first things that you're going to see is you're going to see the parameters of this vehicle and the specs, right? So you got in there, obviously total toe, front toe, right toe, camber, caster, and steering axis inclination, right? Here's one of the cool things about this thing is that let's say you have a modified vehicle, right? So you guy brings you in a Chevy Silverado and he's got a lift kit on it or a lowering kit or whatever. You can actually go in and modify this selection if you need to. So most of the time, if they put certain parts on, like lift kits and things like that, the instructions for that actually come with new specifications. So you would hit the modify configuration button on the scan tool. And now if you notice, those fields become configurable. So if I click and I go up there and I can actually change that parameter to whatever I need. So I mean, I'll make it 0, 0, 0. Oh, sorry, go back there. Now it's 20 thousandths, right? And I can go over to the other one and do the same thing, right? 20 thousandths, right? 20 thousandths plus or minus. Maybe that's the new spec, right? Because of the work that's been done. So you can then also save this. If I hit save function, and let's say this is Dave Johnson's Mustang, I can punch in there Dave Johnson's Mustang. All right. And then hit OK. And now every time he comes back, I can actually go in and actually select that configuration. So I don't have to enter this in every single time. All right. So pretty cool here. And something that I actually learned, last month is we had a customer actually ask us if it was an EV brand, fairly new to market. They haven't been around terribly long. They don't have a whole lot of models, but he wanted to know if we had coverage with the aligner for that particular model. And as I looked into it, we did not. It is not loaded in there yet. We're constantly adding models to the software for coverage. But in this case, I said to him, I said, do you have any way of knowing exactly what the specs would be? Do you have access to service information that would say, pardon me, what this is? He says, yeah. And I said, well, actually, you can do that then, because if you just went into modify configuration, you can actually enter all the specs in there and save it as a custom configuration and then load that. And then there you go. You actually have the spec. So even if there isn't actual coverage for that particular model, if you have a way of getting the factory specs, assuming that it is not a modified vehicle, right, lowered, lifted, whatever, then you could actually go in there and do that information, right? So pretty cool. So in this case, we're just going to, confirm that this is, a standard old Ford Mustang. So the next thing that comes up is kind of what some of you guys might have seen, which is, on the video Tom did, he was using the Treadmaster, where you can actually go in and scan the tires using our Treadmaster 2.0. It'll actually take tire depth readings digitally by sending an LED light through the tread pattern and then measuring the depth from the tool and inputting it into the inspection form. You can also add pictures. Let's say it had a bubble on the sidewall, or the tire was worn so bad that you saw the steel belt, or it had a nail in the tire or something. You could actually take pictures of that and add it in to the inspection report. So, pretty important. There's no better time to sell tires, right, or suspension work, which we'll get into in a second, than when a car is in for an alignment, right, and make sure that everything's good. Now, let's say you don't have the Treadmaster. You can actually go in there and just enter this stuff in manually. If you're just using an old manual gauge, right? I got one actually sitting right next to me right now, just an old school, 30 seconds of an inch manual gauge. You go in there, you can change the number of grooves that you see. So, you want to see, most people want to do, outer, inner, center, right? But let's say you had four, you're working on a a bigger truck that had steer tires with four grooves in it. You can change the number of grooves that you're looking at. You can do all this kind of stuff to it, right? Manually enter that in and then hit next. Now it brings you up to a chassis inspection, right? Anybody that does alignments know you need to do a proper shakedown, right? You need to shake the vehicle down, check it for ball joint play, check it for tie rod end play, right? Check it for sway bar links and anything in the front end, control arm bushings, all that kind of stuff. So again, as you're going in, you can click this stuff off, bring up the front suspension, right? And mark it, right? That it's good, it needs service, right? If we go ahead and we mark it with that arrow, with that check mark, that means it's good. But let's say we have a problem, we can mark it as a warning. We see something going on there. Let's say it's completely cracked or something, we can mark it as red and say, hey, this needs to be done. You can also, again, at that time, add pictures. The scan tool itself actually has a front and rear camera that you can walk up and take a picture of the concerned items and add it into the report, right? So, everything in here is in there. You can, again, we're in, I'm in front suspension. You go to front suspension. Let's say it has a engine mount problem, right? You can go in there, click under engine and transmission accessories and mark that down as well. So anything you see, steering system, right? Anything you see going on that it needs attention, you can actually mark it in this inspection. At the same time, you don't have to do it at all. If you just keep hitting the next button through the tire, tread, and pressure and chassis inspection, it'll just keep going. Like if you already use your own DVI in some way, it's not required. It's just an option to help you guys out. And it can be exported as a PDF file. It can also actually be sent to the customer as a QR link for them to open up and look at it. And then they're going to get the pictures that you took and the tread scans and all that stuff if you're doing it that way. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the next button. And again, this is what I talked about, where literally if you can just follow the directions, you're in a good shape. So if you happen to be using this on an alignment rack that has turntables, you're going to want to pull that vehicle up to that spot, right? And put it on the center of the turntables, and you're going to go ahead and chock one of the rear wheels to prevent it from moving. Now, the kit actually comes with a set of chocks. And probably the only bad thing that I have to say about this unit is the chocks that we have been sending out are probably not the best. First thing that we found out is that the angle is too shallow. It is very easy to, when you're doing the roll comp, to push it back and then push it forward and then roll it up onto the front chock, and then you actually have the wheel actually slightly like off the ground, and it's changing. It can give you some false configurations. There's a couple of little fail safes you can do on the top of the targets is a level bubble, and if you put it on the center of that level bubble when you set up and when you do the roll comp, if it's back into that bubble, then you're back in the exact same spot that you started, right? So, but if not, if your bubble's off, then you want to look and see, are you on the chock? So we are getting different chocks to start sending out with these units that are a little more robust and have a little bit of a steeper angle to stop that from happening. So if you already have a kit and you're wondering, you might already know this problem, but get yourself a different set of chocks to use with that. So I'm going to head to the next button. So here's where you're going to go ahead and install the targets, right? So the targets go into the type of mounts that you're using. Again, we have over tire mounts. Commonly, we also refer to them as 3-point clamps, and we have 4-point clamps that clamp onto the rim. Again, you get 4 of each of these. It's your choice which ones you want to use. In some cases, the vehicle will make a decision for you, right? You get some vehicles that are possibly lowered or something like that, and the tire clamp style ones won't fit on. You need to use the rim clamps, and maybe if you prefer using the rim clamps, but you get a vehicle that has, very fancy rims on it, something like that, doesn't have a lip on the edge for the rim clamp, you might have to use the tire clamps. So putting those on and making sure that the targets are in the right front or in the exact spot they're supposed to be. Again, the targets are marked FR, FL, right, front left, front right. So we are actually also going to change that because we've actually had some people, if you're standing in front of the car and you actually hold your left hand up, right? Technically, that's the passenger side of the car. We've had people, well, no, I'm putting them on the left side because they're in the front of the car. So we're going to do those and have them say driver's front, driver's rear, passenger front, passenger rear, right? Or put a sticker on it, kind of like the way some of the alignment things and some of our equipment has on there, where it has a picture of the steering wheel, and then the location closest to the steering wheel, is signifying which wheel that goes on. So once the targets are in place, right? So you're going to go ahead, okay, and we are going to install the cameras. So you're going to install the cameras roughly equally on both sides of the car. Now, what's unique about this is the camera placement, right? It goes in the middle of the car, right? So it's very important when you're setting those targets up on the wheel that the mirrors, right, on those targets are actually angled towards the center of the vehicle. It's the opposite of maybe most of the more common aligners you've used in your life, if you've used one, where they both angle towards the front. In this case, the rear one has to angle towards the front, but the front one actually angles towards the rear. You also want to slightly set them down a little bit of a downward angle, since the camera is lower than the targets, right? If they don't connect, you'll see that they're not connecting when we go ahead and do the calibration. I'll show you that in a minute. But a little bit of a pitfall, right? That we see guys, put the targets facing forward, that because it's kind of out of habit, really. So once that camera is installed on the lift, there's a little red power button. You want to slide that forward, install the other side, slide it forward, right? Typically on a lot of cars, you're using something like a sedan or something like that. The B pillar, the gap between the front door and the back door, there's a little arrow on the top of the camera. Just put that right in that gap and do the same thing on the other. There is a little bit of wiggle room on the side to side viewing because these cameras need to see under the vehicle and see the other camera on the other side, right? The left one's looking for the right and the right one's looking for the left. So you want them to be as centered, as close as possible. But again, it doesn't have to be exact down to the millimeter. There is some wiggle room there. So once we go ahead, install those cameras, we're going to go ahead, right? And we're going to make sure that they are seeing each other, right? So by going ahead and doing the calibration. So as we go ahead to this next screen, right, the cameras are connected, right? The scan tool sees the cameras and they are connected to each other, right? So the cameras are reporting back to the tablet at this point, right? Now we need to know, do we see the targets at each wheel? So you're going to go ahead and you're going to hit that start calibration button, and it's going to start calibrating, and boom, you're going to get all the readies. All right. If everything's good to go, it sees every target, you're going to see green, check marks and everything saying ready. If for whatever reason it's not seeing one wheel or two wheels, it's going to have a red X and say not ready. And that's going to be your first clue, right, that something's not right. Right, could be the angle of the mirror or something like that on the target that you need to change. Could be the position of the camera, but looking around and making sure that things are right. We've also seen it where I've had a couple of we've had some troubleshooting calls. And not to embarrass somebody, but they're like, I can't get these two targets to connect, and we're like, okay, which ones? The one on the front right and the one on the on the right rear. And then we come to find out they've got the targets in the wrong spot. Underneath that mirror, when you look at these targets, it's a smooth black surface, right? But underneath there is like a checkerboard pattern, right? And that checkerboard pattern has a very specific pattern to it for the right front. And if you got the right front on the right rear and the right rear on the right front, it won't recognize it. It's looking for that specific pattern. So one of the things that we see all the time, guys end up being embarrassed when we're like, if you go to the right front, does that say, that say, again, RF on it, and they'll be like, no. And then they're like, darn it. And they, move the target, and then everything's good to go. One of the other things that we see where people sometimes have a problem in this thing is that, if you've used the more popular brands that are console type aligners, right, that are up in front of the lift, right, plugged in front of the car, the light that comes into your bay is hitting at a different spot, right? These cameras are low, the targets are there. Also, the front targets are facing backwards as opposed to facing forwards, and sunlight coming in the bay is can be an issue with these units because they will reflect off the targets and then give some funky readings sometimes, or not allow the cameras to see the target. So, and it's also a situation where sometimes the machine works one way in the morning, and then you have the sunlight problem in the afternoon because obviously sun rises and moves throughout the day. So just a little things to keep in mind. And again, this is not anything different than other alignment machines. In fact, one thing I've noticed at a lot of the places that have alignment, right, unless they have XYZ's companies alignment machines, they usually have a banner at the top of that bay, right? Or over that bay, and it is touting, we have this company's alignment equipment, blankety blank alignments done here. And a lot of reasons for that is usually because that banner is over the windows, which is then blocking the sunlight coming in for the same reason. So not anything different with this machine, is just making sure the sunlight is not blocking the view. I'm going to go ahead and hit next now that everything calibrated and we see. So now it's going to tell you to go ahead and do the rolling comp. So you're going to want to roll the vehicle backwards and roll the vehicle forward. So I'm going to go back again on this, and I just want to talk about this for a second. So this is a very important step, right? Making sure that the steering wheel was straight ahead beforehand, right? And then rolling the vehicle back, okay? The rolling the vehicle back is the very important part too, right? You're going to want to remove one of the chocks, right, from the wheel, and go ahead and roll that vehicle backwards, roll that vehicle forward. But how you roll that vehicle is as important as anything. Grabbing the front bumper or the wheel well and pulling on the vehicle backwards and then pushing it forward is not something that we recommend. And really, it's not something just unique to our aligner. It's just in general, because you are actually pulling down the body, you're adjusting the suspension. The recommended way is to actually roll it by the wheel or the rim. Now, I would really recommend, if you have the capability, is to do it by using the wheel, the tire, I should say, because if you use the rim, we've seen it where guys get their fingers jammed up against the caliper or something like that, and not a happy situation, right? But you want to kind of roll it back by using the tire. If you don't have the ability to roll that vehicle that way, ask for a friend. Get a guy in the shop, say, hey, can you roll the driver's side while I roll the right side? I need to roll it back. So I'm just going to go ahead and start that compensation again because I just wanted to get that out, right? So you're just going to roll it back till you get in the green. It gives you an audible warning. Roll it forward, and it gives you an audible warning, gives you a check mark, and says, yep, you're good to go. Again, you might want to take a look at those level bubbles on the top of the targets and the clamps to make sure that they're back in the right spot. You're now going to install the brake pedal depressor, right? If you have pins on your turntables, you're going to want to pull those, which you should, because turntables should have pins, right? And if you happen to be on a lift with rear turntables, you're going to plug those in. At this point, you want to straighten the steering wheel. Now, this is where this machine gets interesting, because this is assuming that you're using a lift with turntable pockets, right? Like a standard alignment lift that has those pockets on it. You can use this on a regular drive-on lift. It doesn't have to have those turntable pockets, and I'm going to show you that in a second, because there's another step that has to be done. Remember, this vehicle or this unit comes with turntables. So again, you want to follow every one of these steps. Brake pedal depressor, pull the pins on the turntable's front and or rear, and center the steering wheel. This is very, very, very important. This straighten the steering wheel portion of this, right? So what we really recommend is starting the car and turning the steering wheel and going what we call big to small, right? So you're going to go ahead and you're going to make big wide turns. You're going to go like 9 to 3, 9 to 3, 9 to 3, and then you're going to start slowing it down, 10 to 2, 11 to 1, and then tiny little adjustments, and center that steering wheel up with your eyeballs, and then turn the vehicle back off and center that steering wheel, right? That's going to be very, very important. Go ahead and hit next, right? So we went ahead, right? And we went ahead. Oh, 1 second. So what we're going to do here, right, in this situation is it's going to bring you to the, come on. So when I get into this situation here where we straighten the steering wheel, now it's going to pull up the caster swing, left, right, and then back to center. And you see that I hate that it goes so fast, that it gives you that steering angle sensor measurement. So it's telling you where you are in relation to the steering wheel being centered. So you want to get that as close to 0, as you can. And again, visually make sure that the steering wheel is straight as well. And then at that point, you're going to lock that steering wheel down using the steering wheel lock. Now I'm going to go back because I wanted to show you the procedure that if you're not using this on an alignment rack that has built-in plates and pockets, right? So going back to this screen where, again, installing the brake pedal pressor and doing the turntable pins, right? So say you're on a drive-on lift that doesn't have pockets, right? You're going to hit the skip caster button, right? And what you'll notice is it just goes right to the screen for the adjustments, right? Camber and toe on the rear axle, because it essentially did what we refer to as, skip caster, which you can hit on most alignment machines. But if you notice at the top button in that red banner, there's a couple of little buttons, right? And if you look at that second one where the vehicle is being lifted, or it's pointing like the vehicle is being lifted with that up arrow, if you click under that, all right, it's going to say the current measurement has been temporarily locked. Please lift the axle. Once the vehicle is fully raised and stable, click confirm to proceed with the adjustment, right? So now you have the ability to lift the vehicle up. And, even if your, lift doesn't have rolling jacks, you can use, we've seen guys literally put a floor jack on their rack and then lift the vehicle up, and then you go ahead and you install the plates, and then again you go back after you're done, right, and you hit the down button, because now look what's there, right? Hey, right, we locked the specs, and now you want to set the vehicle down. So now you're going to set the vehicle down, right? And again, you're going to go ahead now and hit the previous button or caster swing button, and then hit the next button again. And now you can do your caster swing. And that's kind of where the magic happens on this machine, is because, again, you don't have to have an alignment rack. You can be using any kind of a drive-on lift or a scissor lift that has flat spots, right? We don't really, I guess, advertise this, but we've actually even had people that have built their own contraptions using, like 2x12s. They built like ramps, and then 2x12s that are like 2 feet off the ground. And they put the car up there, and then they go ahead and do it. You can also use it in a pit if you have a pit, where you can actually lift the vehicle up, put the plates under there, drop it down, and then do your caster swing and get the specs. So the interesting aspect of this machine, right, is that it locks those specs once you do the rolling comp, and then you can slide the plates underneath. And people say, well, how do I guarantee that the specs don't change? I mean, it's really no different than other alignment machines. If you've used other brands, they have a jacked up axle compensation process, and it's the same thing. It just locks the specs for the camber and the toe that it got during the rolling compensation, and waits for the vehicle to be dropped down. So, and then the machine does the math to figure out that the vehicle is, the height of the plates off the ground. So anything that changed is compensated for using mathematics inside the machine itself, inside the aligner software. So next up is the specs. Now we have specs, right? And if you'll notice, you can look at them by axle, right? So we got rear axle. You can look at them at front axle. You can look at them all together at the same time, right? And in this case, you see we have rear camber off. We have front camber off as well. So now if you want to go in and do adjustments, so if you guys are doing an adjustment on a vehicle, which axle do you do first, front or rear? You guys want to answer in the chat box, let me know. I can't actually see the chat box at this moment, but like I said, I can't see the chat box, but the correct answer is rear axle, right? So you click the rear axle, right, and you go in there, right, and if you see this blue wrench light up, that's actually going to bring up the adjustment for you. It's actually going to tell you how to actually do the adjustment. Lights up, but there we go. So there happens to be the rear toe adjustment on this particular item. So it tells you that loosen that nut on the toe link and start to turn it left or right to add positive or negative toe, right? So any of the adjustments in there, you can actually bring up the spec on the screen. And this is where I think is the best part about this, is that from a guy, myself, that's done alignments since the early 90s, is that you now have a tablet in your hand, as opposed to trying to, especially when you're doing the adjustments in the rear axle, where you're trying to do gymnastics to get low enough to look under the vehicle to see the screen, or to have to run out from under the car, around the car to look at the screen. One of the things we really recommend doing is, and you can either put this on something like a cart and actually have it there, or the thing that I actually like to do is I use some of those brake caliper hooks and I hang the tablet underneath in the center of the car as I'm looking at the adjustments. And now I have this screen up and I can actually go and do these adjustments as I see them. Go over to the other side, do the next adjustment, right? So, you can just go right back and boom, you're done, right? So you can head up to the front axle then. Same thing. You want to know how to do the caster adjustment on this vehicle, right? You can hit that, hit the blue wrench, and there it is. So caster camber adjustment done by loosening the bolts on the strut to knuckle. So again, that adjustment done there. You can see that, all right? See that. Once the alignment is completely done, you can hit the all measurements button. And now you can look at this screen the way that you want to. So you can see this screen in a couple of different ways. If you want to go ahead and you want to hit the save button, right? You can do that. One of the other cool things about this machine is that it has this tab here called symmetry. So, and this is really going to help you if you have a vehicle that you suspect possibly has some damage from a bent frame, a bent suspension part, a bent strut, a crooked subframe, right? Maybe someone did an engine or a transmission job in this car and it's had a pull or a drift or something since. You can look at the symmetry. So it's measuring wheelbase, right? So the difference between the center of the tires front to back, right? And then it's also measuring the what we call track width difference, the side to side variation, right? And it's gonna, if it sees a problem where you see where those numbers are, where it's 104.33. So this vehicle, has a wheelbase difference, but it's within the acceptable range, because 104.33, 104 inches, and a third, and 103.9, that is actually an acceptable variance, right? Because it's green. So if it was yellow, that would be borderline, and red, obviously bad. So, someone claims they hit a pothole, they hit a curb, and now they got a problem. You might want to look at this screen and see, is your symmetry okay? Because it might need to go, to get on a frame machine or something. There's really nothing you can do about the alignment specs by adjusting things if the symmetry is off. I'm going to go ahead and hit the next button, and now brings up a report. So you can go ahead and you can have a report for your records and for the customer. You can look at it any way you want. Some people like to look at it where it's actually the like specs like this. Some people like to look at it like this, where it's actually the green and the red and what they maybe are used to that other brands do, right? So you can look at it before and after, or you can just look at it before, right? And or after, okay? And then even the symmetry screen. So you have the ability in this screen to actually save the report, to print the report. You can actually set the tablet up to print to a Wi-Fi printer, and you can actually share the report. So you can hit the share report button, and now you can actually share it either by email or by sending the customer a QR code, say, to their phone or their email. So I cancel, but you have the ability to do that, save it on the machine, and then you can access it from reports later from the home screen of the tablet, or you can hit print to your saved printer that's on your Wi-Fi network. So just like, like anything else, right? So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to back out of this screen now and go back to, you're going to unfortunately have to see me on screen now. So are there any questions? So I see a few up there. So first one, Chris Diaz, what tips would you give a tech doing their first alignment with their tool? That's an easy one. That is, follow the instructions on the screen. In fact, it seems like most of the time that we've had people calling in for tech help or with this machine, it usually starts with the sentence, I've been doing alignments for 30 years. And it's just gets to a point where it's muscle memory, right? Because with some of the newer aligners, you don't have to necessarily straighten the steering wheel before you do the caster swing, right? That's actually done later, whether they call it wind toe, they call it easy toe, whatever. It's very, very important with our machine that you straighten the steering wheel after the rolling comp, right? You do the rolling comp before you do the caster swing, that the steering wheel is done. So just following the instructions. John Thompson asks, does the lift rack need to be level with leveling arms or level on locks? No, it does not. It has the ability to compensate for, for ability. Now, I mean, you don't want it to be all way off, but it doesn't have to be. You don't have to use stands. I know some guys maybe have seen it in the past where they have stands you actually set the vehicle down on, and then they have leveling arms that come out on some lifts. That does not have to be done in this situation. Will the system populate the year, make, model by VIN number? You can go in when you're in the car select, but we don't have VIN scan or anything on there at the current time. So you will have to choose by year, make, model. Are there any other questions out there? Does anybody have anything about this? We're almost out of time, but so if you want to see this machine, there's quite a few ways you can do it. I'm actually here in North Carolina for the next couple of days, actually doing some demos of this unit with some partners. They're already set up. Sorry, you can't join in. I'm booked out. But this weekend, I'm actually going to be in Cedar Point Amusement Park in Sandusky, Ohio, with the Parts Authority at their event. We're going to be doing. We're going to have the vehicle. We're going to have a vehicle in this aligner set up on the premises, showing the capabilities of it. So you can get a bird's eye view of it if you want. So we have lots of people out there that have this machine. There's 4 digits of them out in the market now. So a lot of these units out there, and they're working out really well. So John, you want to know the email? It's techquestions@launchtechusa.com. Again, I will answer that email personally. So just a reminder too, AVI 15% discount on any purchase, launchtechusa.com, including the aligner. Guys might want to know the list price on this aligner is $15,613. That comes with a Throttle 5 tablet, though, which is it's by itself has a $5,000 list price. So if you happen to have a Throttle 5 tablet already, and again, it has to be a Throttle 5 tablet, can't be a Throttle or a Throttle 3, has to be a Throttle 5. That reduces the price to $10,613. So you can get in the business, the alignment business, if you're not in the alignment business, for as little as $10,000 or $15,000, which is amazing. So, guys, if there's no more questions, I really appreciate your time. Hopefully, this was informative for you and brings out a new opportunity for you guys not in the alignment game. Even if some of you guys that are maybe in the alignment game, we've actually sold this unit to quite a few what I call high volume shops, maybe dealer groups or stuff like that have a dedicated alignment bay, and then they have those days where they have overflow. They've looked at this unit to add to start doing alignments when they have a lot on a particular day, and having another bay that isn't dedicated and only can do alignments because the alignment machine's there. Now they have this capability of doing them in that bay. Well, thanks a lot. Hopefully you all stay safe, stay cool, and really appreciate it.